Welcome to Clarafying TV, life and business wisdom for spiritual entrepreneurs. I am Clara Angelina Diaz, and I am so excited to be with you today. I have the most special guest. She is a writer, author, mentor, life coach, and proud owner of OneLife1.com, One Happy Life. It is a training, spiritual mentoring, world changer type of platform. You have to check it out yourself. It's OneLife1.com. I'm so excited to have Danielle Dagba in the room. Danielle, how are you today?
Doing well, Clara.
So excited to have you here today because today we are going to focus on Danielle's latest book, Born to Succeed, Programmed to Fail. A true story of a Christian woman. So excited to be speaking to you today,
I'm happy
Danielle.
to be here, Clara.
Oh my goodness. Talk to me about how this book was birthed.
Okay, so about 2 years ago, I used to put together these teleconferences for women.
Okay.
And then and what we will do is a group of women, we will get together, we're all Christian, and we will pick a topic to talk about. So when it was my turn, I decided to talk about my life, my story, where I've been brought out from. And so I just wrote a small paragraph, actually, maybe a few paragraphs about how I overcame my past challenges and where that has brought me from overcoming those challenges. So I posted the article to our social media. And then for the first time, we've gotten 2,000 people to like the article. And I'm like, wow, when you share your
2,000 likes. Ooh.
2,000 likes.
Social media. Okay.
Yes. And people really loved the story. It was very brief. It was a summary, but people liked it. And usually we get maybe 100 likes, 200 likes, maybe 300 the most. But 2,000 likes, that told me that there was something behind that story. And then since then, this book, the seed of this book was planted in me. I knew I had to write and explain more and giving more wisdom about my life story.
So you wrote this summary of sort of your journey, right? And you post it up after you're doing these teleconferences, and you see that, man, people are connecting, right? People are really feeling it. And so where does the title come from, the Born to Succeed but Programmed to Fail?
Well, I believe that we are born with the seed of greatness in us. I believe that life challenges or past life events can make us become something, but that doesn't change our natural abilities, potentialities. That has not changed God's soul's agenda.
So what you're saying is that you personally believe, and I personally believe, that we are all born with a seed of greatness.
Right.
And despite the things that have happened to us, it doesn't mean that it's going to kill the seed. The seed is still there.
It's still there.
Right?
It's just covered up by things that we've called ourselves based on our own interpretations of what happened to us, things that society may have called us. And I like to talk about personalities that are being born out of past hurtful events. You understand?
Yes.
Perfect example, in my life, in my past, because of sexual abuse, because of what I was called growing up, I have this image of me. I never thought that I was even beautiful. I never thought that I had anything good in me. I truly believed that I was good for nothing, and this voice in my head was constant. You will never achieve anything great in your life because of how I have internalized.
So we would say that that's the program.
That's the program.
All of our experiences, and I love what you said about the interpretations. The way that we interpret what happens to us. I love that.
Right.
Because it makes it our responsibility.
Precisely.
Wow, that's beautiful. So powerful. So the program itself, all these things have happened.
Right.
But at a certain point, you realize
Right.
that you're more than that.
Yes, and that turning point came about. And I mentioned it in the book.
Yes.
That you come to a point in your life. Everybody had a past, right? Everybody has this turning point where you have to make a decision. That came about when I was 23, my last year in college. Found myself pregnant, abandoned by the baby daddy, right? Carrying this child alone. This guy didn't want to have anything to do with the pregnancy. I found myself pregnant with this guy that I barely knew. And I was like, okay, that was not the plan. What happened? My plan was, after I'm done getting my bachelor degree, I'll go off somewhere, getting my master degree in Spanish, because I love Spanish, travel the world, meet my Prince Charming. Now I'm knocked up, so to speak, at 23. Living, I had to leave campus, moving back home, not my agenda at all. Right. So I said, okay, at that point, the awakening started to happen. And of course, I hit rock bottom. I have to say, it was the most challenging time of my life. It was painful, and in my culture, this happening to you and your family, the way they see you, it was just a disgrace in the Haitian culture. Being part of the Catholic religion, I was the talk of the town. It was painful.
So 23 years old.
Right.
Your life is not peachy rosy. I mean, whose life is anyway, right? And you're like, man, things are not working out. What do you do from there?
What do you do? It was either I drawn into my darkness, and what I call darkness wasn't so much in sin or bad. It was, now I understand what I'm calling darkness was just me not knowing myself, my life purpose, that I could be happy.
And for our viewers out there, would you say that was something like a state of depression that you were in?
I was.
Yeah.
I was.
Which is
I
so,
was
I mean, I
depressed.
think it's so important for us to call it what it is sometimes. I mean, I know that you're going to explain to us how you came out of that, but for those of us that have suffered through depression, that are living in depression, it's important to know that, you can call it what it is, and you can move through that. And this book could be a medicine for that, and you being the witness to the fact that it is possible.
It is possible.
Wow. So before you continue, I want to retract a little bit, because I really like the way you wrote the book. I feel like it's very direct. Like your first chapter says, why you're unhappy. Boom. Everyone wants to be happy.
Right.
Everybody wants to be loved, and everyone wants to be happy. Deep down, even if you don't realize that this is so, right? So in your first chapter, you say, this is why you're unhappy. Tell us, why are people unhappy?
Well, a lot of people talk about the effects of unhappiness, and they call it the cause of unhappiness. Let me explain. People may say, I'm not happy with my job, I'm not happy with my relationship, I'm not happy with this and that, but they are naming the symptoms of something bigger. You understand?
So people are focusing on the effects and not on the cause.
But what is the cause of unhappiness? The cause of unhappiness is the fact that we have not discovered who we are, besides our pain, besides the confusion, besides our life circumstances, besides the current challenges.
Who are you above all that?
Beyond your pain, beyond your challenges, beyond the ups and downs, there's something greater. There's something eternal. There's something that you can't put a price tag on it. And that's your divine self.
Let's go back for a second. You know what you've heard the term, your story? You got to change you heard people say you got to change your story.
Right.
Would you say this is sort of the same concept of, people having this negative story program, right? Wow.
And I talk about that in the book. I'm not sure in which chapter. And I said, if you were the script writer of your life story, and I believe that's the chapter where I'm talking about going into your past and begin to identify some things that happened to you, look at the outcome, look at the people involved in those painful situations. Now, if you were to change your characters a little bit for a different outcome, what would you have changed? And I take people to that healing process. Let's say you were abused by your dad. If your dad had had a different approach on life, what would your life be? So
helping people kind of go back into some of their painful memories and reliving them as adults.
Exactly.
In a better light, with more control, in a different interpretation.
With a new goal. With a new goal. Because it's not so much going back into the past, but now it's different. You are looking into the past event with a new perception and with a new goal. And your goal is to heal yourself so you can experience yourself as happiness. It's not so much to go for self-pity so you can point fingers, or this person is that, and if it wasn't for that person, then I would have, it's not to point fingers, not to make anybody guilty, but that's just for you and you alone to heal yourself.
So this chapter 1 that you talk about being why you're unhappy. To summarize, you say, the reason why people are unhappy is because they don't know their true selves.
They don't know their true self. The bottom line is
because they don't know their true selves. And their true selves is the God within, who you truly are beyond all of your negative experiences and all of the interpretations that you've made.
Right.
Chapter 2, the program in you, right? We've already touched a little bit about the program and what that means and all of that. But what I'm most interested in is really having people identify, like as they're listening to us, is really, how do you identify what's the program versus who your true self is? How do you identify that?
Begin to see, and I talk about it in the book. Begin to see your habits.
Begin to see your habits.
Your habits. You see, because what happens is, when you are affected by a program or particular programming, it manifests through you through routines and habits. Because the program likes to cover itself. It doesn't like to be revealed because the program is smart. It wants to live through you. It's a parasite. So it will cover it up. You see, a lot of times, anything that you do in excess, think about it. If that means there's no balance. Excessive eating, walking excessively, even working out excessively, anything in excess beyond that, you can begin to diagnose a particular program.
How about, that makes me think of something, right? So excess, right? How about the other side of excess is neglect, right?
That can also
be the things that you know that need attention, but you're
and a lot of times it's yourself. You're not taking care of yourself. And I'm talking about self-love. Do you take time to examine yourself? Do you take time to examine your life? Are you, and I like to say that, do you have a spiritual diet?
Oh, I love it. Not a spiritual practice, but a spiritual diet.
I'm not saying going to church once a week or just reading a book once in a while, but I'm just saying, are you in a spiritual regimen? That's how you love yourself. In the morning, what is the first thing that you do? What are your spiritual practices? The program will stop you from doing those things and be committed and be disciplined and find the time to do those things. Then you know you're controlled by a program.
I had to take a second and digest that because, oh my God, this program, okay. Wow, okay. How do we, now that we can identify the program, right? We've talked about the reasons why we're unhappy, because we are disconnected from the knowledge of our true selves, right? Then we identify the program as all those things that we have acquired over time, right? And all of our interpretations. But what I want to know now is, how do we overcome, right? Rewrite, how, I don't know, tell us, how do we rewrite, reprogram so that we are on the path to success?
Right. It begins with, first of all, and I studied in the book, it begins with you making a decision. Believe it or not, Clara, as This sounds very simple and very sane, but sadly to say, not everybody wants to be happy.
That's true.
Some people are comfortable with their situation, even though it seems like it's not the best, but they've either made up their mind that, okay, my life is doomed to failure. I am stuck in this dead-end relationship. I am stuck in this dead-end job. So they will make all these self-fulfilling prophecies, you see?
So, Danielle, what you're saying is that not everyone wants to consciously be happy.
Right.
Like, because I feel, Danielle, and tell me what you think about this, that in our hearts, we really do want to be happy.
Right.
But sometimes it doesn't communicate to the brain.
It doesn't, because the program is too loud sometimes. So it does begin with a decision. And I can tell you clearly the time when I sat on my bed, on my yoga mat, and I can tell you precisely when I make that decision, Clara. I said, and by then I was already married, 7 years. Jasmine was already born, healthy, beautiful child, and Jeremiah was already born. So I had it all, and I had a very good job. So, but yet there was this thing in my soul that was demanding for more. But then I also started to see through my marriage some of the nasty characters. Let me tell you, you can hide, but once you're in a relationship, a loving relationship, let me tell you,
oh my God,
the program will expose itself.
Relationships.
And then it was bittersweet because I started to see those things in me, and I was like, Lord, where are these things coming from? And then I made the decision that if there is such thing as inner peace, if it started with inner peace, I just wanted to be at peace. If there is such a thing as happiness, I want it. Then I began to ask those questions. So it starts with a decision, Clara.
Starts with a decision, and you making the conscious decision that you want to be happy.
As simple as that.
Simple as that. Just a simple decision. Wow. And let me go back to the decision because I hear this making a decision, right? But it's so hard for people to make a decision sometimes, especially over things. Make a decision to have something they've never seen. So how do we do that?
Well, because I've always been a Christian all my life, so I also know that I could fall back on God. When I made that decision, I also prayed. This is why in my book, I shared the first few chapters. There's a Christian devotion, and I've shared some anchored scriptures. Because if you don't know, if you ever get lost in the journey, I always say go back to the starting point. And I knew that my starting point, somehow I knew that my life purpose, my happiness, all of that great things that I really want to achieve, I knew they were wrapped up in God. So I knew that there was hope.
Especially, going back, especially where you said you got to the point where you've been married for 7 years, you had your daughter, things were great, you had a great job. It's like, man, I should be happy right now, right?
Right, but God was telling me, I knew that there was something greater that I had to do, even though I was doing really good at my job, but there was just something in my soul that was telling me, Clara, that that's not it. And I was unhappy.
It's not, so for those out there that are going after things, right? It's not really the money.
Right.
It's not going to be the marriage.
Right.
It's not going to be the baby.
Right.
People, go through crazy things to achieve certain things, to then get them and realize.
They're empty at the end.
So how can we achieve things and feel fulfilled? How?
And I always say, get those things. Have those things. Right?
Right.
But at the same time, do not deny or neglect your soul agenda.
In the process.
So somehow,
what does that look like? Like, what does that look like on the everyday person, let's say, to have all these things and neglect your soul agenda? Like, what does that look like?
It can happen, Clara. People can spend, 90% of their energy on work, taking care of the house, planning meetings, going to conference, traveling the world, you name it. But meanwhile, not taking not even, I don't know, at least 30% of that, consecrating it, devoting it to finding that inner connection with God. You see?
Looking for it all out here.
And I'm like, you have to balance.
All out here, yeah.
You give that into the outer world, into your outer universe, your children, your whatever it may be, your pets, and all of that things that your life demands, but you only give like maybe 10% or maybe 1%, maybe going to church 1 hour a week. But you are the spirit living in the body.
Yeah. You are the most important thing.
You are the most important thing.
In that whole scenario.
In the whole scenario.
In your whole life. And we don't pay attention.
We don't pay attention.
And that's the programming.
And the program can do that. And that's the routines. And I gotta do this, I gotta go there, I gotta hang out with my friends. I have to sit down.
Something that you say that I absolutely love, I love this quote, and I'm gonna make sure that it's put up, is your quote says, stop doing and start being.
That's what the program does.
When I read that, I think you texted that to me or something. I don't know where I read it, Danielle, but I was like, man, Danielle is speaking my language.
Right.
We have to stop doing so much because the program, right? Like the program with me, I'm a testimony to that. As a child, my father always told us to stay busy. Everything was about, you got to be productive, stay busy, stay busy. And it's a program in me that I'm well aware. So when I see myself always doing, I think about what you said. I'm
Right.
like, no, do, be. You be, when you are, everything kind of is done around you.
Right. The world will not fall apart if you give yourself 10 minutes to meditate or to pray or to read a scripture and to really ponder on it.
Wow. I'm absorbing all of these things. So, I want you to leave our viewers with 3 specific things, right, that they can do to really sow that seed of greatness, to put ourselves in the path of success,
Right.
where we should be, right? Because we were born to succeed,
That's right.
as you say, but we were programmed to do something else. So how do we recalibrate? And I want you to give us 3 of your best gems of wisdom.
Definitely. When I think about when there's a storm is about to come, right? You look at the sky and it's gray, and the clouds, and you can't see the sun. You can't see the sun.
Right.
But the sun is always there.
Right.
And I give this illustration to say that I'm not sure where you are at in life. First of all, know that your divine self, your true self, the seed of greatness that is planted in you is there. It cannot even be removed. Even if we do not recognize it, that does not mean that it's not there. Just as if we look at the sky on a cloudy day, we don't know that the sun is shining its brilliance beyond the clouds. So I'm saying this to say that I'm not sure what your clouds are, but whatever they may be, know that there is brilliance. I like to call it the Christ self, your true divine self is beyond the clouds. Know that. Secondly, there are tools to healing. And I believe that people may have experienced certain things in their life and they say, there's no way I can be healed from that. There's no way I can forgive this and that person. But there is a way.
Yes.
Because you came here to find a way.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes we forget why we are here. We are here to find a way. You see? And then those people, even though we call them our abusers or enemies or people who have hurt us or disappointed us in the past, they actually are teachers. Clara, as I look back, I'm telling you, I've grown in love and compassion because of people who abused me. Because I did not want this darkness in me, because it was literally clouding the brilliance of the Christ within me. Yeah. And I was determined to find that. I was determined to be connected with that. And I was not going to allow anybody in my past, present, or future to block that. Because, because I love myself.
Yeah.
So if you come to a point where you love yourself, not the self that you've become, because I know that the voice in the mind might say, you're this, you're that, you've done this and that and the other and da-da-da-da. But what I'm saying is, loving yourself is the true divine self in you. That's what you're loving. But just as if you're in a loving relationship, you will want to spend time with your lover, you need to spend time with the Christ self. So making the decision is the last thing, Clara.
Making a decision.
And sometimes we have to make it every day.
Every second.
Every second, if you have to, depending on your surrounding, your environment. I'm telling you, whatever it takes, when you make it your priority to know and express who you are at all costs, let me tell you, you're already on the journey to success, because that's why you came here to do.
I love that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Wow. The core message. You came here, you came here to find your way. Born to succeed, programmed to fail. I mean, if you really need an exemplary example of the fact that you can make it, you can shine your light, and you can live happily here on earth and help others do that as well. Wow. You need to get this book, okay? Danielle, thank you so much for being here. Every time that we're together, I feel happier. I just feel aligned. And I know that our viewers are going to get so much out of this. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, Clara.
Oh, my God. Thank you so much for watching Clarafying TV. This is Clara Angelina Diaz, and I will see you next time on Clarafying TV.
Bye.